Hello everyone, my name is Joshua. This is the 54th video on my video journal series. Today's date is Friday, the 3rd of April 2026. And I want to start off by saying how my day's been. My day's been very good, thank you. Yet again, I just stayed home all day, did some work. But I did watch a movie today, which is what I'm going to discuss. Which is the movie Saturday Night, which I believe released, I think it was last year, in commemoration of Saturday Night Live, which is an American sketch comedy show. I guess it's like a late night TV, but they do a lot of like sketch comedy, SNL. And yeah, I'm pretty sure for the 50th anniversary of SNL, which was in 2025, they released this movie called Saturday Night, which basically is like a movie that portrays the, I guess, 90 minutes leading up to the first airing of Saturday Night Live in 1975. It's like, dramatized. I don't know what the actual, historical events were, but essentially, depicts all the famous comedians of the era, like Chevy Chase, John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, George Carlin, people who I presume on the first Saturday night episode, and it just basically, you know, recounts how disastrous the setup to the first episode was. All the complications, the lighting issues, actors walking off set, And obviously, I don't know much about SNL. I don't really watch a whole lot of Saturday Night Live, so I don't know, how to compare this movie to the real life events. But yeah, I guess watching this movie for the first time, I guess I can sort of pick up on the techniques and not really quote on its historical accuracy because, I'm not a historian or anything. But I thought the movie was very good. I like the format of it. It's something that struck me. It's like, you know, formatted in a way that looks like if it's continuous take, you are basically viewing the story from like, the cameraman. You're basically viewing the disaster unfolding as they try to like set up a TV show without a script or without a solid idea, sort of. And I kind of like it, It kind of reminds me of like this is gonna sound weird, but the Al Pacino movie Looking for Richard, which is the only thing I can draw upon right now, where it's like it's not the conventional movie style. It's like you're basically watching, not a mockumentary, but you're basically watching a continuous take, sort of. There isn't like many cuts in the movie, if you know what I mean. There's only like a few. Apart from that, it's like shot, so then it could be like a continuous take. You're traveling behind a certain character as they go from one room to another. The reason why I compare it to like Looking for Richard by Al Pacino, which was like a mockumentary he did. Not a mockumentary. I think it was a mockumentary about Richard III, the play by William Shakespeare, but adapted into like the modern day, at least modern by the 1990s standards. Because when I first watched that movie, I remember thinking to myself, "Wow, this isn't really like any movie I've seen before." It's kind of like, you're following around these people as they try to navigate certain situations. And in Looking for Richard, it's basically, you're viewing what seems to be like a mockumentary where, Al Pacino, or docudrama, that's what it's called, docudrama. I guess this one can also be classified as somewhat of a docudrama, but you're essentially viewing it where in the movie they're trying to make a script, they're trying to make something happen. Same in Saturday Night, where they try to make something happen, and you watch the characters overcome their issues and new issues prop up. And I don't know, that's what really like I guess struck me about this film. And I kind of like that format. I kind of like a little bit tired of the conventional movie format where you got beginning, middle, end. um, and I guess like it's positioned in a way where there's many cuts, many skips or whatever. But with this movie, I kind of liked it, where it's like, few cuts as possible. It's all one continuous take. sort of that's like the style it's sort of going for, and I kind of like it. Acting was pretty good. I reckon they got like pretty good actors to play all the famous comedians that you saw in like the 70s. I know depending on how old my audience is watching this, you might be more familiar with these people than I am, but no, I think it was a very well done movie. I had a lot of enjoyment watching it. I just thought pick up this movie and watch it because I heard a lot about it like last year, and I kind of like films set in history. In the 70s, 80s, maybe even 50s. I really like my history films, films which are set in the past, and I guess that could be like the vast majority of movies that I watch because I kind of like when you see all the actors, props, um, all those things which were around at that time. Um, and I'm not going to be like that movie critic that says, "Oh, they used the wrong type of car. You see, that car was released in 1956, but this film is set in 1954." I'm not going to be one of those people, but I kind of like to see the old aesthetics and I guess like that sense of immersion when you're in like a period piece film. Um, just like kind of providing you like with a lens of how the past was like, or at least how the movie's trying to portray the past like. It would be my dream to walk onto a set of a movie set in like the 70s and just like pretend I'm in the 70s for a day. I guess that's kind of like what this movie's like, and I definitely recommend it. Obviously, it is MA-15. There's a lot of swearing in it. Oh my gosh, there is, and I guess it kind of like conveys, I guess, the stress, or the very informal environment that I guess these people were dealing with. It was the 70s after all, but you also got to think to yourself, well, this was mostly backstage, actors talking with each other, a lot of people stressed out, young. So I guess it's a little bit authentic in that way. But yeah, Saturday Night, I'll most probably give it a. Oh man, what should I give it out of 10 stars? I'll most probably give it an 8 out of 10 stars. I quite enjoyed the movie. I'll watch it again, maybe in like a few months or few years' time. Um, but yeah, I quite enjoyed the movie Saturday Night. I don't know much about SNL, but from what I've seen, I think it's a very, I guess, compelling story. I guess based on true events, but they might have like dramatized certain things. I don't know because I don't know truly what happened, the historical events behind SNL, but I did hear it was a mess. And I know with a lot of TV shows, when they get started for the first time, like Conan O'Brien, for instance, they really struggle for the first couple of years to gain an audience and they nearly, get cancelled. But then they find their way and they eventually rise to the top, like Conan's show, Late Night with Conan O'Brien. I know that took like years to take off and the show nearly got cancelled once. I guess that's sort of similar with Saturday Night. At least what they're telling in the story, where the show was about to get cancelled, pulled off the air multiple times before the first episode went live. But yeah, I guess I'm not much of a movie critic. I just like things that I watch, and then there's some things where I watch and I'm like, man, that's boring. I guess like with movies, I guess I might have like I don't want to say bad taste, but like there's some movies where I watch where people say, "Oh, it's an all-time classic," and then I watch it and I'm like, "Oh, it's like a good movie. I can see it, but I'm not like interested." Like for example, I haven't watched The Godfather. I haven't watched all those classic movies, but I've definitely watched movies in my life. Like most of I can't name because yet again I'm pretty like slow when it comes to movies. Just trying to think of the movie titles. What's a movie that I've watched where everyone says it's good, but I don't think so. Guess that could be. Oh man, it's really coming to me now. Maybe like the first. no, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. Um, a lot of people said that was a good movie, and I, saw it was a good movie and all that. But I'm not much of a Mission Impossible fan. Obviously, it was a good movie in Part One. When I saw Part Two in theaters, I believe it was last year. I actually liked Part Two a lot more. But yeah, I'm not like a big Mission Impossible fan. Obviously, everyone loved Dead Reckoning Part One, Part Two, at least the critics, and I can definitely agree with them. But obviously, I wouldn't, you know, put it as one of my favorite films. You know what I mean? Or maybe like my scoring system will be a little bit more different because, I like movies where it is like, I guess the plot's easy to understand. There's not much dialogue. It's just mostly action. I guess like Mission Impossible. I don't know. I just view Dead Reckoning Part One as just like a lot of dialogue, and it's not really my sort of thing. But then there's movies where I watch where everyone like doesn't like it, but then I do. Um, for example, Looney Tunes Back in Action. It's most probably an obscure one to pull out, but critics panned that movie. But I personally loved it as a kid, and I love it now. I like mediocre movies and movies where it might not be that popular with most people. Um, and there's movies where I like where everyone else likes, but it just ultimately comes down to taste. I mean, I haven't watched Looney Tunes Back in Action, that movie with like Brendan Fraser. I haven't watched it in years, but I'll definitely love to watch it again. And the last Indiana Jones movie, I don't think was terrible. I heard a lot of people say it was bad. They didn't like it. Well, I don't think it was terrible. Not the best in the series, but I thought it was pretty solid. At least from my experience. I mean, I haven't watched the entire Indiana Jones, I guess, trilogy in full. I've definitely seen clips, and I know about the plot and everything like that. But obviously, I see the original trilogy as like something that I really want to watch in a few years' time. In as soon as possible, really. But from what I've seen, yeah, the original Indiana Jones trilogy seems like pretty cool, definitely up my alley. But I thought the last movie, as it's by itself, wasn't all that terrible. I thought it was pretty good, pretty okay. But then when I watch the original trilogy, maybe my mind will change. Maybe like Star Wars. I've watched the original Star Wars trilogy, and that was like top tier. But then you watch the new Star Wars movies, and people have like different thoughts and opinions about it. I've watched a bit of the new ones. I don't think like it depends maybe which one you're talking about because I'm like a massive Star Wars fan. But you can definitely appreciate all the graphics, CGI, even if the plot may not be good or the acting or a certain decision to alter the story. You can still appreciate like the I guess special effects, the theming, um, all the effort it took to make that movie. I guess something you can appreciate about all movies is that they take time and resources to produce, like Saturday Night. Um, you know, movies are expensive. They are, projects. They take a lot of time and effort. Even bad movies take a lot of time and effort. I'm not calling this bad. I'm calling it quite good actually. But you know what I mean. Um, it's just that I guess sometimes, um, not everything lands. Some critics might not like it, but just because a critic doesn't like it doesn't mean I'm gonna hate it. There's like the Pokemon movies, for instance, which are like insanely panned by critics. People who I guess take a Pokemon movie as literal cinema, up there with like I don't know a Tarantino movie. But to me, as someone who likes Pokemon, I love those movies. Like Pokemon the first movie, Pokemon 2000, Pokemon Freedom movie, Pokemon Forever. I like those movies because to me it's something I'm interested in, and even though critics might not like it, I can find enjoyment in it. So I guess that's just my taste in movies. I'm not again the best movie critic or anything like that. It's just that I like watching movies, television shows, and all the sorts. And I guess to really cap this off, yeah, Saturday night. If you are of viewing age, that is above the age of 15 here in Australia. I don't know out overseas, but I'll definitely recommend watching it. Um, Obviously, there were like some bits about the movie that left me a little bit confused. Like, I saw that some elements of the movie to me felt a little bit rushed, or they weren't like, ever fully addressed. I don't want to spoil it, but there's a scene towards the end of the movie where they introduce like one like a character, for instance, that the main character, I'm going to call him the MC. The MC, I guess I can say his name, it won't be really spoiling. Lauren Michaels goes into a bar and sees this other guy and recruits him to join the show or to write for the show. And to me, like, I don't see the point in introducing like another character at the end of the film. Maybe that's what happened in real life, and you really can't change that. But I guess towards the end of the film, it just I saw some plot lines which were you know just I guess didn't have like much explanation to. Um, Obviously, like yet again, introducing I guess a new character towards the end of the movie. I guess some ways it could be like sort of executed, but with this, it was like you know it left more questions. I'm like, who is this person? Is this an actual thing that happened right before the show? What's their significance to the story? And obviously, this movie is, I believe it's how long is it? It's a 109 minutes approximately. So excluding credits, it will most likely be around 90 minutes. And obviously, it's supposed to be 90 minutes before the first SNL episode began. It's supposed to recount the stories and experience and events that unfolded 90 minutes before. So I guess in some ways, they had to squeeze everything in 90 minutes. So, oh, yeah, I guess it is a little bit fast paced, but that's like the way I kind of like my movies, a little bit fast paced, a little bit on the faster side. I don't really like slow movies like the old French films. I can't handle them. Sorry, because when I watch a movie, I want it to be exciting, thrilling. I don't want it to be boring and some guy talking in a chair with a big mustache and a pipe speaking about the human ontological experience. No. But anyway, very good movie. Definitely recommend you check it out if you're, I guess, of viewing age, and if you really like, I guess, that sort of docudrama or mockumentary like experience. I guess it can't really be. I guess it's not really a mockumentary because it's based on a real event, but there's some bits that are changed and altered, and that's the closest thing that I can draw a parallel in my head. If any of you are like experienced film critics or analysts, please let me know the correct term. But anyway, I guess I'll catch you all later and see you next time. Take care. Bye.